Hello and welcome to Gilead Television. Um, Facebook Live has a new live video feature. And what I didn't know is that I've been using it all along, and I just discovered the old version, which I like better. But boy, do they want you to use that new version. If you click the button that says go to the old version, uh, you have to do a survey that says why, and then you have to close all these windows that pop up and say you should go to the live version. It's so much better, and I like the old one better. Usually, I mean, I'm not a total luddite. I like new things. This old one works better, I think. Hi, Brian. Um, hi, Stellar. So what I have here behind me is an old life drawing. There's nothing particularly wrong with the drawing, uh, except probably this leg to foot is probably ought to be bigger, because it's sometimes you get that foreshortening and something, a leg or a foot is coming at you and it's getting bigger, and there's something that feels clunky and indelicate about drawing it that way. You think, oh, I'm going to make her ugly, and it actually makes it better. And so I really should have done that. The only other thing wrong with it, I mean, I did a really nice job with the shading and all this stuff, um, but I think the room was pretty crowded, and this was the only place where I could find a seat. And so I wound up with kind of not a very interesting. I mean, I like a nice butt, but you can't really see the rest of her, and I would like to see more of her. So this is not the kind of sketch that I would say, oh, I'm going to trace that onto a canvas and make a painting or something like that, because it's just not quite that interesting. So I'm going to take this little filthy piece of chamois cloth. I'm just going to soften up some of the old sketch here and there. Because what I found when I was flipping through my file of photographs, I found a photo of this, but I found two photos, and one was precisely this, and one was apparently about a second before, when she was kind of sitting up and talking to somebody, or somebody was telling her something. And so she was a little more upright, before settling into that pose. She was holding her head up and saying something. So I'm going to draw that one because there's more of interest. Grab this little line charcoal. Um, there's not much character to figure when you can't see the face, unless there's a lot of action going on, or unless I don't know, if the person's really sad and their head's hanging down, their hair is falling in front of their face, that can really convey something or whatever. But just to be at an angle where you can't see them is not a very compelling image. So I like it better when I get at least some of their face into the shot. So she was this other photo, a bit more like that. Now you notice I couldn't just take the head and pull it up without it affecting her shoulder and her back and everything. So, um, they're not quite a little posable doll where they could be standing perfectly still, and then you could take an arm and and like those programs that supposedly take the place of art models, except they really don't. Um, they're like that, and they look so real. They look real because um, they're slick. It's like when computer programs came out, and I know I sound old, oh, damn computers, but um, tough it out. When computers came out and uh, you could do like really nice lettering to make a sign or something, it was slick looking, and you could do outlines and bevels and drop shadows, and you could convince yourself that you were doing a very professional job because on the computer screen it looked great. But unfortunately, it doesn't save you from having no idea about layout or what to emphasize and what to de-emphasize, and make something bigger, make something smaller, how to lay it out, how to pick the colors that are good. Um, so there was a lot of very slick, professional looking amateur crap out there for quite a while, and there still is. It's just people have gotten used to accepting that. And you look at a program like Poser, and this image on the screen, and it looks like real skin, and highlights and shadows, and oh, she just looks so real, um, that you're like, no, it's great. It's just like a real model. And I'm sorry, I'm fighting with my easel here. And you just think it's great, but it's not, and it actually doesn't look real. It looks slick. Okay, it looks way more polished than something you could do with a charcoal pencil, but it doesn't mean it looks like a flesh and blood model sitting in front of you. Maybe that will stop that from jiggling around so much, driving me crazy. All right, so I have moved her head, and we're also gonna mess with her hair a little bit here, and I'll get to the reason why in just a second. I have her hair just kind of drifting around like this, drifting around. And the reason for that, of course, is mermaids are underwater and their hair drifts around, as you've probably seen many times. So, let's see. That fin just kind of comes around like this. Be sure to overlap things. Even I'll admit part of what I just did, I did because I'm running out of paper and I don't have room for a long tail to go snaking off over here. But if it's curling back around, don't just find a piece of empty space on the paper. Bring it up and let it overlap. Let one shape be in front of other shapes. It gives so much more dimension to your drawing. Now you've got a sense of something here, and then something here, and then hopefully something back here. So you've got that sense of depth and space. It's a really good thing when you can achieve that effect in your art. Now you might ask me, Gil, why would a mermaid have butt cheeks? No reason why a mermaid would have butt cheeks. And I'll tell you why. It's a very good scientific reason why a mermaid has to have butt cheeks, and that is, it would just really bum me out if she didn't. That's why. So she's my mermaid, and she's gonna have butt cheeks. And if you're British, I made a pun by saying it bums me out. If you're not British, as you were. So we got some tail fins going on here. Am I in the way? Yeah, my hand's in the way, my head's in the way. Can't see what I'm doing. I'm the most amateur video maker ever. So then the other thing I have over here on my computer screen, which I can't show you, is a different model from a different class. So I'm just going to put them together. And I'm going to put his head about right here, neck about right here. He was sitting in a chair, but kind of leaning forward a little bit. So his face is more forward. And I'm going to make her just a little bit more engaged with it. He had no hair at all, but that's all right. I'm going to give him some. And I want to be careful about where his arm goes. I'm not trying to avoid something inappropriate. I'm just trying to avoid messing up anything over here, like covering things I don't want to cover and that sort of thing. So I was thinking he was underwater with her. So I'm assuming he's got to be a merdude as well. He can't be. Uh, what's his name? God, I was about to make a joke and I can't think of the guy's name. He was in Splash, the movie Splash. Open his mouth just a little bit. Everybody needs butt cheeks. Well, yeah, that's a good reason. Thank you. Okay, there's people. There's people here suddenly. He's saying something so Gillian knows I'm here. Yay! And and there's more, and then it fades away. So I guess I'll know later. I don't know. There's little green things that say somebody joined, and they fade to the top of the screen, so I can't see them. Anyhow, So yeah, I'm faking this part, but gonna do this. Is that right? I guess. I think I could raise his head a little bit. I'm running out of paper. I think it might look better if his head was a little higher. Sometimes you draw something and it came out really nice, and then you go, ugh, but it's in the wrong place, and then you don't want to move it. But when you've messed up as many pieces of paper as I have, you kind of get over that. Okay, I like that better. They look like they're looking at each other. Only now, now the shoulder's way in the wrong place, and I gotta move it. Possibly means I gotta move her arm. See how hard this is? It's hard. It's really hard. I have such a hard life. All right. Speaking of hard life, I was in the living room reading, thinking about getting up and going and doing a live video, and I was in the recliner, and the cat got up on my lap, and so we kicked back and took a nap. So that's what we did. It's all part of an important work day. All right, now his arm is way up here. It's gonna cover her butt cheeks. Oh my God! You can't have that. See how hard this is? I have to make the important decisions. So I hope you're all okay with no great wisdom from me today, because I was asleep a couple minutes ago. And how long have I been on? I keep forgetting to set my timer. So I've been on 18 minutes. I'm just gonna have to keep an eye on that. I was figuring 30 minutes. 30 minutes, all right. After 30 minutes, I think my audience is asleep. So that seems like a goodly amount of time. So yeah, we want him to have more hair. His hair can float around too. I don't know why mermaids have eyebrows, but it'd be really freaky if they didn't. People, a couple years ago, I did a series of mermaids for the month of May. Mermaid was a sketch challenge thing, kind of like Inktober, March of Robots. I did Mermaid. I also did Junicorn um, for the month of June. But I had a point. I did so I did a mermaid a day for the month of May, which rhymes, and I kept being asked, why would mermaids have nipples? Because it would suck if they didn't. That's why. I don't, you know, just why would you ask a question like that? I don't even understand. His face, I'm getting his features from before all mucked up with his new set of features. It's okay, I'll sort it out. So yeah, mermaid and merdude. So do you like it? I'm starting to like it. It's I didn't dislike it before, but like I say, there was just nowhere to go with it. It's not something that you would ever make a painting out of or really show anybody. It was perfect for what it was at the time, which was practice. Every now and then, some other artist who's kind of new to what I'm doing will sort of scold at me over all of this and say, that's not what life drawing's about. It's about the practice. I know that. But, a couple of years later, it's about that big stack of paper you've got sitting over there on the shelf and the question of what do you want to do with that? Are you just going to throw it away or you know, start a fire with it, or what are you going to do? Mermaids probably don't have belly buttons. That makes sense, except just gotta, they just gotta. I don't know. Some people deal with it by making, uh, they're very careful to make their fish half be more like a manatee or a dolphin, to make it all mammal, not half fish, because half mammal, half fish really doesn't make any sense. But, you know, in ancient mythology, I don't know if they were that concerned about things making sense. But anyway, the classic mermaid has got scales. It's just what I draw. A lot of fantasy creatures that don't make sense. And there's a certain level of fascination to trying to figure it out and make it make sense. Trying to just rethink the whole question and say, well, what could really be going on? That can be fun and interesting, or it can just be disappointing and kind of reduce it all, kind of take all the magic and wonder out of something. I got two photographs on my screen, one of the model, of the girl, and one of the guy. Um, the guy, I'm barely referencing him because everything I'm doing is so different. I mean, his arm is more down on the edge of the chair and he's just leaning forward. Uh, so I'm making up a lot of that. And the lighting's not entirely consistent between the two pictures, so I'm making up a lot of that. So far, there's nothing in the picture that says this guy is a merman. Evan Nichols says, "This is my only line." Well, um, I hope you got paid well for it. Yeah, it's not quite obvious that he's a mer dude, but his body be down here. I don't know where was his tail go? Just kind of go off the screen anyway. I mean, I could loop it back. It's a little heavy-handed. Loop his tail backwards just to say, "Here's his tail. He's a mer guy." What the heck? We'll be heavy-handed. So I still don't know if it's a great picture, but it's a much more interesting picture than it was before. And maybe I, I doubt that I'll make a painting out of every single one of these sketches that I do. Maybe someday I will. I'll have to get a lot faster at painting. Um, but I think of them in terms of, if this works out okay, maybe I'm going to make a painting. And I might not. But that's kind of always what's in my head. I'm not really trying to preserve this piece of paper to be uh, in pristine condition because I'm going to take it to a show and sell it. That's never going to happen. But I might make a nicer rendition of this and sell it someplace. So what else would be over here? What are they? Where do mermaids sleep? They make beds. They just drift around the water like sharks. Don't imagine that they'd lay down on coral. That seems uncomfortable. But maybe there'd be seashells kicking around in the bottom. Stuff. There could certainly be fish swimming by. Fish. You could have a fish swim by over here. Again, gonna overlap things. All right, I have a fish. I don't know my fish. Somebody's gonna write me a letter. That looks like a left-handed yellow snapper fish, which are not found in the Pacific coral regions where mermaids are seen. That would never happen. As a fishologist, I'm deeply offended. So there you go. We went from boring life drawing to hopefully not boring couple of anatomically improbable fish people. Yes, the fish is checking out the butt cheeks. Do they look co-joined? I don't know. I'll I'll decide later. Sometimes when I am working here from the side, I'm I don't know if it shows, if you can tell from the video, but I'm drawing from the side of my paper and reaching over. And sometimes when I walk around and look at it from the front, it doesn't look right. But I thought it looked right before. So let me see. And this the I got a little pop up saying somebody had made a comment, but I don't see that. Maybe they made a comment on somewhere else on Facebook. Okay. So, oh, I mentioned co-join before you added the tail. Yeah, yeah. I think that did help. I think that did, uh, and all that dark uh, on the other side, underside of his body, kind of helped to separate the two shapes. So that may be all I've got for you today. I hope everybody's doing well. Um, requests, requests, throw something at me. I was talking to D Estelle the other day while I was working on one of these, and we talked about the sketch off that we'd normally be doing because what 2 weekends ago would have been Leprechaun convention that we were all looking forward to, and I said, well, we could do sketch off online. We know we could get several artists together with their whatever they use, their paper or their computer or whatever, and their Wacom and get the camera pointed at it, and we could have the audience shout out a recommendation, and and then we could draw something, and I think that would be fun. But getting everybody into the live event at the same time seems to be a challenging thing. I've been seeing a lot of online things like uh, music things and other stuff, and it's really hard to get. Uh, it's awful hard to get a crowd together. Hi, Michael. Um, yeah, it's hard to get a crowd together. So um, that's about all I've got for today. It's been more than 30 minutes. Where's what? Okay, there it is. 37. I've been nattering on for 37 minutes. And, like I say, if there's something specific you'd like me to try, something you find entertaining, or something you don't know how to do and would like to learn how to do, or you just want to stump the DJ, throw something at me and we'll see what happens. And I'm going to go ahead and end video now. Thanks for coming.